Honorable, we are discussing about Parliament and accountability. Of recent, we are recently elected as Deputy Speaker of Parliament. How does it feel like being the second in command in the country's legislature?
It's surreal, but at the end of the day, it comes from God. Position such as Deputy Speaker, Speaker, the President, and the Vice President, it comes from God. And every other position in this world comes from God. So I embrace it with a lot of surprise. But I'm settling down in the office. The office of the Deputy Speaker is an enviable office. It's a critical position. You are the assistant to Mr. Speaker. You must be reminded of that every day. You have to assist Mr. Speaker in the discharge of his function in the management of Parliament, the administrative and political management of Parliament. And in a whole, you are responsible for the most critical committee in Parliament, which is the Public Account Committee, which in itself is a responsibility that is an enviable responsibility. Because when you go to the Standing Orders of Parliament, Standing Order 76, paragraph B, and you see what actually entails and what's the responsibility assigned in that provision to the Office of the Deputy Speaker, tells you that the Office of the Deputy Speaker is an enviable position. And I would want to say it's a huge trust from the President to consider me, a young man in my prime of being a young man. Consider me for such an enviable position, for such a responsible position. I take it with all the strength I have in my body, and I'm going to ensure that I will discharge the responsibility with the fullest of my attention.
As per the Constitution of Sierra Leone, the Deputy Speaker is the chairman of the Parliamentary Account Committee, the PAC, and you said is very critical. What is the mandate of the PAC?
The mandate of the PAC, firstly, as per SO 76, the PAC is responsible for the general supervision or general management of all public enterprises, public corporations, and overall to look into the audited financial statement as provided by legislations. Because when we pass laws in Parliament, for most of those corporations, when they are set up, they will be set up as corporate entities, corporate bodies. And for every corporate bodies, there are corporate standards that you have to meet. And one of the corporate standards is that you must be audited. And once you're audited, your audited financials has to go through a long process. That is to say, when you're audited, you present it to the minister. In instances where there are boards, you present it to the board, and the board will forward it to the minister. The minister will take it to cabinet. Cabinet will look at it, and it will come to Parliament. It will be laid in Parliament. Once it's laid in Parliament, it's the responsibility of the Public Account Committee to look at it. Also, the Public Account Committee, in its own mandate, can also ask for this document, can also ask about the financial standing and financial well-being of public enterprises and corporations. Above all, in the Constitution, it is clear that it is the Public Account Committee that is responsible for the management and supervision of the audit service. When the audit service presents their reports to Parliament, it is the Public Account Committee that takes responsibility of that report. And that report is clear. Section 119 of the Constitution is clear as to who is responsible for the audit report. And as things stand, we are taking full control of the audit report, and we're going to ensure that we're going to implement the recommendations of the audit report. And when I say implement, people should understand what implementation is. Implementation doesn't mean that if the auditors have raised a particular issue and there are resolutions raised by the auditors, doesn't mean that the unresolved issue is a penalty. It will mean that the unresolved issues is as a result of lapses, maybe in submission of documents, as the case may be. That is why, if you go to the Audit Service Act in section 36(1), there is a provision that makes penalty or puts penalty for people who will fail to submit documents to the audit service. So all of these are things that we are looking at. It is a big committee. It encompasses everything. It looks at every legislation, because what we look at in the audit report borders on public procurement laws, public financial management laws, public financial management regulations, taxes, and all.
What is the threshold that a recommendation from the audit report can lead to a penalty?
The threshold is if you cannot substantiate, if you cannot validate, if you cannot provide evidence as to confirming that this money, for example, the auditors will say money spent or amount spent without supporting documents. What does that mean? In Regulation 100 of the Public Financial Management Regulation, it stipulates that no money should be spent out of a donor on a consolidated fund without supporting document, which means that if you undertaking any expenditure on behalf of the agency, you should provide those supporting documents. If you go to Regulation 101 paragraph B, sub-regulation 1, it states it itemizes the documentation that should support every expenditure. For example, we will tell you that there must be a local purchase order, there must be an invoice, there must be a receipt, there must be a request. So all of these documents are the document that the auditors will go in and ask for. So if you don't provide them to the auditors and you come to us, you don't provide those documents, we'll look at what the auditors would have qualified, either A, as document provided and the amount outstanding, or B, document not provided at all, and we'll recover those monies. And we also have a general mandate to ensure that once there is issues from the GPFS is the General Purpose Financial Statements. Most often, when audit reports were submitted in the past, people don't bother about the GPFS. The GPFS is the actual accounts of the audit service, because that is what they look at, the Accountant General's responsibility under law, under the Public Financial Management Act, under the regulation, to ensure that they submit the accounts of Sierra Leone, how ministries, departments, and agencies have performed over the years. So generally, the limit of penalty depends on the issues raised, the threshold of documentation that is required, and if those thresholds are not met, then we will invoke the law.
You are currently probing into the 2022 Auditor General's report. What has been the impact of the PAC in exposing corruption and ensuring transparency and accountability?
Well, generally, we look at everything. We don't look at it as one size fits all. It's not one bucket. It is not just corruption. It's not everything that you do that is corruption. There are some things that you do that are deliberate violation of the process. That will be deemed as corruption, because corruption can be qualified as failure to meet the requirement provided by law. That would be qualified as corruption. But there are other issues like administrative issues that the audit reports will raise. For example, they will tell you that, okay, this particular hospital, there are medication that were supposed to be in this hospital, they are not available. That is not corruption. That is government providing support. There are other issues that have to do with inconsistency in terms of rollout of laws. Take, for example, there are a number of projects. Some of these projects, when they are first opened, they would give them waivers, but those waivers cannot cover other aspects of their payments. For example, if you receive your salaries here, you should pay GST, you should pay PAY, but the project would assume under the cover that, oh, I have this concession, or I have this arrangement with the Ministry of Finance, and I can have this. So for the PAC, we are looking at all of this, and we are putting emphasis on the fact that the law must be observed. So if you go now to the Ministry of Finance, before we commence the review of the 2021 and 2022 Auditor General's report, by the way, the Ministry of Finance would have the latitude of giving budget enhancements that is outside the budget, that is in violation of Regulation 30 of the Public Financial Management Regulation of 2018, that unbudgeted amounts outside the budget approved by Parliament has to come back to Parliament in the form of supplementary budget. Since we commenced the review on the Ministry of Finance, you've realized that ministries, departments, and agencies that will now go to the Ministry of Finance for enhancement, they will tell them we cannot give enhancement until we fulfill the procedure. So that is, again, if you look at the audit compliance, you would realize that yes, the audit compliance has gone up. You would look at recoveries that we've made. UADF, they were struggling to collect their monies from ISPs and MNOs. We collected 10 billion. Everybody has paid 10 billion fully. We've been able to recover about 3.2 billion that was missing between Sierra Leone Commercial Bank and the Bank of Sierra Leone.
Old loans or new loans?
These are all old loans. Billion. When I say billions, it's old loans. There are 3.2 million new loans. We've been able to recover that. There have been payments from NRA. A contract was awarded to a certain contractor. The contractor did not perform. 30% advance payments was made to him. We have recovered that. It's now in the account of the NRA. We've also put out notices. By today, we expect the NRA to attach 39 billion from wrong GST inputs that were given to taxpayers that do not meet threshold set in the GST Act of 2009. So all of these are things that we're making progress on, and we'll continue to make progress to ensure that those that have arrears with NRA would have to come to Parliament, validate their payment if they have paid. If you have not paid, we look at your total payment. We are not going to do up a payment plan anymore. because we know what we want. We know what Section 88 of the GST Act says, how to recover government money. We know what Section 90 of the GST Act says, how we can garnish people's accounts or other payments that other entities are owing them. So we are going to implement the law.
Sure. In case NRA failed to attach the 39 billion as you requested, upon all the sections that you already cited, what will be the next step of the PSC?
There's no next step. What we do at the PSC is to ensure that we enhance collaboration.
Successes.
The collaboration between the NRA and the PSC has increased.
Okay. You are on record to be very uncompromising, exposing wrongdoings even within your party in parliament. Is this something Sierra Leoneans should expect to continue or even more robust?
It is not an act. It is not an act. It's not an act to gain popularity. It is not an act to win the mind of people. It is an act to ensure that I live up to the oath I subscribe to, that I should bear true faith and allegiance to the Republic of Sierra Leone. That is just what I'm doing.
What are the successes?
The successes are enormous. In this short time, you would see compliance level in ministries, departments, and agencies has increased. In this short time, you would realize that the performance of ministries, departments, and agencies, for example, Goma Valley Water Company, they came here, they have a long list of outstanding debtors. We've instructed Goma Valley to go back to these ministries, to go and install prepaid meters in all ministries, departments, and agencies, factoring their liability. So when you buy water top up, your liabilities will be deducted to a certain tune, and you will utilize the remainder until you pay your full amount. We are also going to sit with the Ministry of Finance so as to negotiate and see how we can implement Section 54 of the Public Financial Management Act. That is to deduct and set off liabilities owing to the government of Sierra Leone. If you owe any ministry as a ministry, whether it is interministerial debt or interagency debt, it's some money owed to the government of Sierra Leone. So we are going to utilize the law, and these are successes that will continue. Our successes, it cannot be measured because it's an everyday process. Every day we make progress. Every day we gain a new milestone. Every day we set new heights for the PSC. So it is not a success that we are going to benchmark that we've achieved this and this is going to be our target. No, every day we move up the threshold because what we want is to ensure that there is complete compliance and accountability and transparency is enhanced.
Challenges.
There are lots of challenges, but you don't dwell on challenges. For me, challenges are part of the inspiration that will take you forward. If you want to dwell on the challenges, you will not move forward. We have challenges with in terms of mobility. That is a very big challenge. For the PSC, we are not only looking at ministries, departments, and agencies. We don't only want to sit here and be someone in ministries. We want to summon, and when we make resolutions, we follow up on those resolutions on the ground, so that we see that such resolutions have been implemented. So mobility is a key challenge. Before now, you would see our membership was fragmented, but there is enough motivation in our membership. We have two paramount chief members of parliament. Even if they are not coming, they will inform us. Those were challenges in the past, but these are challenges that we've found ways around, and they're doing well. So what we'll do is we'll see our challenges as inspiration, and we try to summon those challenges to make the committee better.
Lastly, what will you say to Sierra Leoneans with regard to your office, parliament in general, and the state of the nation?
I will tell them that a new sheriff is in town and let them believe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow.